Can you imagine sitting on a park bench in central London, chatting with a friend, maybe discussing some politics, only to find out that that bench might be bugged by the Chinese Communist Party? No, this isn't a movie plot, it's real. Today we're diving into the shocking revelations of Chinese surveillance operations in the heart of the UK and the growing outrage over Beijing's plan to build a massive embassy right next to the Tower of London. Hi everyone, welcome to the show. My name is Stan. Today I'm in the beautiful country of Switzerland and in the beautiful city of Zurich, where I'm making a series of reports on different events promoting Taiwan's participation into international organizations. But this time we're going to discuss the events in England and how bad the Chinese infiltration and Chinese influence campaigns in England are. British media have recently exposed that places all over Whitehall, yes, the political core of London, are being secretly surveilled. We're talking pubs, hotels, and even park benches in St. James's Park, rigged with hidden listening devices. The goal: to monitor conversations among British political figures. It's not just one source. Even the Mail on Sunday confirms that officials with access to state secrets have been warned. Avoid certain high-risk areas in London's SW1 district. Those places include the historic Red Lion pub, said to be crawling with Chinese agents, the luxury Corinthia Hotel near Trafalgar Square, and the newly opened Ruffles Hotel, right across from the Foreign Office. And here's the kicker: this isn't new. Back in 2016, the Daily Telegraph already flagged St. James's Park as a known spy meeting point, used by agents from China, Russia, and beyond. These are bold, blatant moves, and it's getting harder and harder to ignore. Now here comes the bigger controversy. The Chinese government wants to build a giant embassy compound near the Tower of London, right on the historic grounds of the former Royal Mint Court. This isn't just any location, it's one of London's busiest tourist zones and a popular area for protests and demonstrations. So what happens if China sets up a permanent base there? Would they be able to monitor protests directly, right from their front door? And with the past reports of Chinese overseas police stations popping up in Europe, it's no wonder people are worried this could be a new intelligence outpost in disguise. So that's why British citizens are taking to the streets. They're saying, we don't want the CCP setting up surveillance in our neighborhoods. Even though police have tried to limit protester numbers, demonstrators have shown up again and again, standing outside that future embassy site, demanding answers. And here is where it gets messy. While the public pushes back, some British officials are oddly accommodating. Foreign Secretary David Lammy and Home Secretary Yvette Cooper have both expressed support or understanding for the embassy plan, citing the need for diplomatic stability. But critics say, is this really about diplomacy? Or is it just appeasement? And it doesn't help that some of these politicians have well-documented links to the Chinese companies and think tanks with CCP funding. It raises one question: are they defending British sovereignty or helping China gain more ground? At this point, the embassy plan has become more than just a building permit. It's about whether Britain is willing to draw a line or let Beijing keep expanding its influence on China. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner now has the final say, and public hearings are expected. But the protests aren't just about one building. They're about protecting the integrity of British diplomacy. Of course, even if the UK Parliament and high security areas have been infiltrated this severely by the Chinese Communist Party, then it's easy to imagine that British universities, especially the top ones, must be among Beijing's primary infiltration targets as well. So right now our friend Stan, who is in Poland, will tell you about the infiltration at the Cambridge University. For over 800 years, Cambridge has been a symbol of human intellect, home to Newton's laws of gravity, Darwin's theory of evolution, and the groundbreaking physics of Stephen Hawking. It has produced some of the most brilliant minds in science, philosophy, and politics. But it's not just an academic sanctuary. It's also a historical breeding ground for British intelligence and government elites. And disruptingly, it has become a front line in China's infiltration of the West. In 2021, the Times of London exposed a startling report. Jesus College, part of Cambridge University, had been hosting special training programs, but not for your average student. The trainees? Handpicked by the Chinese Communist Party, high-ranking officials, state-owned enterprise executives, and wealthy business elites from China. And who were the instructors? Cambridge professors working through the Cambridge China Development Trust, offering courses in politics, economics, and business management. exclusively for these influential figures. Now think about this. Are these really just academic exchanges? Or is it something else entirely? According to the report, this training program ran from 2005 to 2019 and served hundreds of high-level CCP-connected individuals. That's not education, that's preparation. And it's happening right under the noses of some of the most respected institutions in the West. When the Chinese Communist Party pours money into elite Western universities, it's never just about continuing education or friendly academic exchange. These so-called training programs aren't innocent workshops, they're a strategic front. We can say that it's a way to give political infiltration the cover of legitimacy. And Cambridge is no longer just a university, but rather a battleground in a silent war. In September 2023, a detailed investigation by the UK-China Transparency Office exposed shocking evidence. Cambridge University has been directly involved in training executives from Chinese weapons manufacturers. Not retired scholars, not private citizens, defense officials. One of Cambridge's premier research centers, the Center of Advanced Photonics and Electronics, or CAPE, received over £2 million from the China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation, a state-owned arms supplier and a critical pillar of China's military and space programs. China's military was given access to the bleeding edge of British high-tech research, military-grade optics, electronics, and more. And we all thought these were mere business seminars. It's not a partnership, it's a pipeline. To some in the UK, China may feel like a distant concern, but history tells a different story. Remember the Cambridge Five, a Soviet spy ring made up entirely of Cambridge elites. Recruited in the 1930s, these men funneled British intelligence straight to the KGB for decades. Their betrayal shook the West to its core. Fast forward to today, and we may be looking at something even larger, because this time it might not be just five, it could be hundreds, a new Cambridge 1000. Some Chinese restaurants abroad aren't just restaurants, they function as a covert police outposts or intelligence gathering stations. It might sound shocking at first, but it's not new. Even back in the 1980s, in the United States, there were well-known Chinese restaurants tied directly to communist intelligence activities. So, while I was in Cambridge, I decided to check one out. Right as I stepped in, People's Daily, yes, the official mouthpiece of the CCP, was displayed proudly at the entrance, like decor. Their bathroom was upstairs, so I went up. The second floor, completely empty, except for one large table. Around it sat over a dozen people, Chinese and British. But the Chinese group stood out, buttoned up, serious, clearly not tourists. Their posture, their clothing, their whole demeanor screamed party official. And they weren't there for dumplings. They were deep in conversation with some elderly British gentlemen. Definitely not a family dinner. It looked like business. And not the kind of business outsiders are allowed to know about. So what does this tell us? By 2025, Chinese infiltration in the UK is no longer in the shadows. It's happening in broad daylight. When people start asking questions, vague excuses are made. When scandals break, institutions reluctantly agree to return funds, like Cambridge's dealings with Chinese weapons firms. But there are no real consequences. You might be surprised to hear this, but in many European democracies, foreign participation in politics isn't as tightly controlled as it is in Taiwan. Take Germany, for example. Political parties there, even far-right ones like AfD, welcome engagement from foreign nationals who haven't even obtained citizenship. And now it's backfiring. Just recently, German prosecutors charged Jian Ji, a Chinese-German man and his associate, for working with Chinese intelligence. Their mission? Infiltrate the top levels of the AfD party and monitor Chinese dissidents living in Germany. Yes, Chinese spies inside a German political party. And it's only one case among many. So if you ask the average person in the UK what they think of the Chinese Communist Party, most would tell you they don't support it. Some might not say it aloud, but the feeling is there. In my view, Europe's infiltration problem is no longer a hidden issue. It's right out in the open. As the United States tightens its stance against CCP aggression, Europe needs to stop sleepwalking and take this threat seriously before its softness becomes the weakest link in a global containment strategy. This isn't just about Taiwan or just about the UK. It's about the entire international order, whether we can preserve peace and stability in a rapidly changing world. And if you're watching from Taiwan, know this: what's happening in Europe mirrors what's happening at home. The same strategies, the same infiltration tactics, the same need for vigilance. We need stronger scrutiny on foreign influence, stricter oversight on academic exchanges and CCP-affiliated cultural groups. But more than anything, we need public awareness, because behind every normal exchange there could be an ulterior motive. So stay aware, stay sharp, and don't assume the war hasn't already begun just because the bullets are invisible. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please press like, subscribe and share. This is Dan. I see you in the next one. Bye bye.